Coming up on the Godly Conversations podcast.
I'm a recovering people pleaser.
There's nothing as bad as somebody being sick and not knowing they are sick or not being able to admit that they are sick. That person cannot get help or cannot be well. You come to a point where you're tired of certain things. You're tired of people disrespecting you. You're tired of people walking all over you because they feel like you don't have sense. If someone is being kind to you, it's not that they don't have sense. It's not that they don't have self-worth. It's not that if someone keeps tolerating you, it does not mean that they are weak people. It just means that they have plenty love to give.
Yeah.
Do you understand?
Say that again.
So because they have plenty love to give, right?
If I keep it to myself, I'm not doing anybody any good. I'm not doing myself good. I'm not doing the person good. So, okay, I was wrong here and I'm sorry for this. But then when we talk, we all have to accept where we were wrong.
Yes.
To actually come to a meeting point. Sometimes you have a part that you played and I had a part that I played. And my duty as a self-aware person is to acknowledge and take accountability and responsibility for where I was wrong. And apologize, because now you can't even have a level of vulnerability and transparency if you're not self-aware.
It's not possible.
You cannot.
It's not juju.
It's not juju.
Growing up, I've always been called different kinds of. I still remember them, but I'm not going to say them. I'm sorry. And it traumatized me. That's just the word. It affected my self-esteem. I didn't feel beautiful. I didn't feel good enough. I remember one time I asked my mom, is it true that I'm shapeless? Because that was something somebody told me. That was in primary 5, And some of those things affect you as a child, right?
Welcome back to Godly Conversations, everyone. And today I have a beautiful lady, Princess.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome, Princess of the Most High.
Yeah.
That's what your friends call you.
Yes, that's what I call myself too.
Okay, so you call yourself Princess of the Most High, the daughter of Zion.
Exactly.
Daughter of the King, Abbas Princess.
Exactly.
All right, welcome.
Yeah,
and I present you, Princess, and today we are talking about something very important that is going to be helpful to everyone. And I believe for me, it's a topic that is very personal to me also. Yeah. And I know that it's something that everyone needs to know, because when we talk about the issue of trauma, sometimes we dumb down on it, especially in Nigeria. We play down on how trauma affects us, because most people don't even know what it is trauma or how trauma affects them. But before we even go deep into this, would you like to tell the people who you are, what you do, so that at least let them know you?
Okay. So like he has rightly said, my name is Princess. I'm very keen on marriages and relationships, making them work God's way or no way, basically. I'm also an entrepreneur. I also love to sing. Currently, I have an inactive YouTube channel, Plus with Princess, but they are loaded with a lot of videos that can actually bless your life. We are currently rebranding, and just watch out for Princess, basically. Thank you for having me here.
So are we continuing with the Plus with Princess?
I don't know, as the Lord leads.
Okay, as the Lord leads. Yeah, woman of the Spirit.
Yes, exactly.
All right, first of all, I do ask everyone, how do you feel sitting here?
Thankful.
Oh, thankful.
I'm happy. I love to share and converse.
Oh, wow. Basically. I think the word thankful actually hit me different when you just said thankful. Like, what makes you feel that way?
I'm just thankful. Thankful that I'm here. Thankful that I'm able to share what I know. And what God will lead me to share.
Wow.
I feel like everything is an experience, basically. I'm going to learn today, you're going to learn today, and then whoever is going to be listening to us now is also going to learn. So I'm thankful. It's a beautiful thing to be able to share your knowledge or your gift or your experiences with people. So that's what I'm thankful.
You just dropped a bomb, like everything is an experience. That's a beautiful thing. And it's true. Everything is an experience. And today we're having an experience. You're having an experience between OM and Princess. Anyways, I would like to dive into your upbringing. How was that? If you're not opposed to sharing your upbringing and your family, whatever thing, you're free to share.
So my upbringing was a very godly one. I always used to thank God for my parents. They are not perfect in any way. Nobody is perfect. But I thank God that they brought us up in the way of the Lord, basically. I didn't even know what I had until I got into university. If I didn't even know what I had until I finished university and I was waiting for youth service, and then I was talking with a friend then, and she said she wished she had parents that, showed her the way, taught her the Bible and all of that. And it dawned on me that I actually had this. Growing up till now, anytime I go home, forget age, all of us will sit down in the morning and we'll read the Bible and we'll sing and we'll pray. And that's the same thing we also do in the night. So my upbringing was good, very strict. I grew up in Jos, Plateau State, and I don't really know how to speak Hausa. So when I tell people that I don't know how to speak Hausa, they're like, How did you grow up in Jos? I'll be like, I was a veranda child.
Oh.
So basically, we are always at home. We are not even able to come downstairs and play with other children. So we are actually really protected, if that's the word. Yeah, okay. So my upbringing was strict, and I thank God for it. It taught me a lot of values.
All right. Based on what we're talking about today, heal before you deal.
Okay.
Do you have any experience about your upbringing that you can maybe share with the people to say, okay, these are things that I had to deal with?
Okay.
And to approach healing with, to bring them to healing.
Okay, when I was growing up, in school now, I was always teased. In fact, right from primary, right from when I can remember, I've always been teased about my body size, right?
Okay. Were you chubby or something?
I was chubby. I'm not, I won't say that I'm slim. I won't say that I'm slim, but I've always been big, kind of. Not now, maybe, but anyways, either ways, I've embraced it, right? So growing up, I've always been called different kinds of names. I still remember them, but I'm not going to say them here. Sorry. And it traumatized me. That's just the word. It affected my self-esteem. I didn't feel beautiful. I didn't feel good enough. I remember one time I asked my mom, is it true that I'm shapeless? Because that was something somebody told me. That was in primary 5,
Gosh.
And some of those things affect you as a child, right? So I started looking at myself through that lens of I'm not good. I think the first time I saw that I was actually pretty was in primary 5. They took a picture of some of us, and I was looking so beautiful with my all back and all that. But it still did not register that I was a good looking person. And I went on to secondary school, and those, some of these experiences, they say trauma is a response to things that we've gone through, you understand? And so for me, it just affected me. I was always this child that didn't feel I was good looking enough, I wasn't beautiful enough, and that's crazy, right? Because look at me. Hello. So I went into school with that same notion, and I had people that I was always looking up to. This person is so pretty, I wish I was like this lady. And then one of my classmates, then her name is Gracious, God bless her. She told me one day.
Gracious, God bless you.
Yes. She told me one day, Princess, you're so beautiful. I went home that day and I looked at myself in the mirror, and I think that was the first time my perception of myself started changing, right? While we should not have. Now, imagine I became an adult with that notion. A man would now probably come and meet me, and because he's telling me that I'm beautiful, or I didn't see myself in that light, I fall for probably somebody who's just trying to prey on me or take advantage of me.
True.
So these are ways some of these bad experiences can actually shape us. And sadly, we still have a lot of beautiful ladies, that inside and out, because I don't feel like beauty is just outward, right? That are going about thinking they are not good enough. So when somebody smiles at them, they fall. Do you understand?
Right.
So you see that this is how they are responding to whatever it is they felt. So growing up, it wasn't easy at all. I won't even lie to you. It brought about deep-seated insecurities. So things like this, it's not good for any child to go through.
Well, thank you. Thank you for actually being vulnerable and giving us the gift of your vulnerability. I think that is actually helpful for someone that might be watching, maybe as a younger person that's I think you're talking about me right now, maybe right where they are, because the essence of children based on the households that they grow up from, right? Some children are just like that. They just talk anyhow. And especially I know that might come most especially from the boys. So they just about everything.
That was not
So-
even from a boy, it was from a girl.
Oh, wow, that was crazy.
Yes.
That was crazy. Dude. That was really crazy, man. Thank you for actually sharing vulnerably. So when you asked your mom, that I was curious to know what your mom answered you.
My mom was shocked,
Okay.
right? I don't think she really said anything. She just like looked at me, and I didn't think she knew what she would. I think she was shocked. I was a child. I'm sure she was wondering. She said something, but I really cannot remember now, honestly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like at that point, she couldn't affirm you.
I don't think she could affirm me at that point.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, that must have been deep. So I see why that was really deep for you, because I feel like had it been she had the knowledge that time to know what to do, it would have been really helpful for you
Yeah, I
from
guess
that
so.
very point, because you're coming to her like as your mom whom you respect, and it's later tell you, Mom, tell me I'm beautiful. So I believe that might have been really beautiful. But let's just go into this, because I believe from the preview you've given us from your story, it can give a background for someone that is experiencing unpleasant things,
Okay.
and then they have been traumatized. Sometimes it's from household. Like personally, I came from a family that, yes, my parents, I love my mom and my dad. They know that I love them so much. But then the home was not homely. So it was a war zone kind of, sometimes, not all the time. Sometimes because there's this verbal misuse of words, which can be used as verbal abuse. And then instead of affirmation, it's almost verbally abusing someone. So that can affect self-esteem also.
Yeah.
That can make you feel not loved. And then the essence of not being sure that your home is always peaceful actually affected me. And then I felt abandoned in a way, because I can't be safe to tell how I feel.
Okay.
And especially growing up in Nigeria, that men feel like men don't cry, men
They don't
share.
express
So
themselves.
I adopted that mindset of strong man. I don't tell anybody anything. So, and then some people see me sitting down. Yeah, some people see me sitting down on this podcast and sharing about my story. They might be thinking I used to share. Nobody would barely know anything about me, because I keep everything inside. But then that actually had effects in me. Like that actually affected me, because it would have imploded if God didn't intervene, if I didn't kind of realize that this is not healthy for me to do the work.
You know, based on what you said about your parents, what I said about my parents. So I think for me, what helps me now is that I realized that our parents were also growing up. Like many of us had parents who got married really early.
Yeah.
So they were also learning a lot of things. Do you understand? They are also learning things. So I think it should help us to understand. If we are being honest with ourselves, right? Realize that probably your dad was married at your age. My mom had probably had 2 of us or 3 of us at my age right now. You know, so I think that's what makes me like some of the things I felt I used to be bitter about, probably towards them. Yeah. I realized they were also trying to figure out their lives. Definitely. So I think that's something that we should all take home, or something that we should all think about, is the fact that our parents were also learning on the job and giving their kind of background. They even tried. Do you understand? They even tried. So they were also trying to figure out their lives and trying to raise us, and they were doing the best that they do at the time.
With the available information they had.
Exactly.
No, I agree with you personally, like on everything you just said about our parents, because my dad was married already. At my age, he was already married and he had kids.
Okay.
So he had kids. So let me not just 1 or 2. I think he had my siblings, my older siblings. But for me, talking about it does not mean, being bitter with them, right? Like I said, I love those people. And I'm not bitter at them again.
Not even you. I'm sure some people listening to us now. Some of them are vexed for their parents.
Yeah, true.
So we need to put it out there that there are certain things your parents did. They did it in your best interest. Like that was what they knew or thought was best for you.
Or
so stop holding them in your mind.
Or maybe still do. Right? Because some parents, like, they adopted the wrong thing. Yeah. And that was true to them. So they lived that way. Exactly. Just like a dad that is hard on his kids. And he feels like that's the way to prepare them for the hard world that they are going to face. But all of that, that is why we actually get to have conversations, The essence of what I'm having on this podcast is, I know that conversation brings transformation. Exactly. And in fact, the essence of why I started this podcast was through a revelation I got from John 4 with Jesus conversing with the woman at the well, someone unworthy. So Jesus having that conversation, he was not preaching to her. It was a conversation because it was asking her questions and then she responded and all of that. In the essence of their conversation, she got transformed.
Yeah.
Just because now everybody has a need, psychological need of being seen, being known, being heard, and being loved, being understood.
Yeah.
So that woman felt all those needs was met at that point. And she was always looking for love. That's why she had like 5 husbands, and the one she was living with was not even
her
husband, like she wasn't married to. So she was looking for love because maybe there might have been so much trauma in her life that she's looking for things. She's looking for a way to be loved.
And you can't find those things.
Can't find it anywhere else. And that is why I feel like having vulnerable conversations can help a lot of people to know, okay, like you talked about parents. Some parents still do what they do. But one thing I heard that helped me is that your parents groomed you till you become an adult. But once you become an adult, anyhow your life is till you die, it's blame on you. You can't blame your parents to say, oh, it's because of what my dad did. My dad once told me, I know he was just saying, he said, you don't get to blame anybody that my dad didn't do this for me, my mom didn't do this for me. And just to share a little bit, he didn't have anybody doing any of that thing for him. And it's even, we are fortunate, we are privileged that himself has been able to be there for us. His dad, which is my granddad, was not there for him. They didn't send him to school. They sent us to school. And so when I give him grace, I know, okay, when I traveled home, I went to him, I told him that I actually appreciate him for everything that he has done. That doesn't mean that he cancels out the trauma that we experienced, right? But him working hard, I can see all of that. I know it wasn't easy. Exactly. Because I'm working right now and I'm like, guy, is it easy?
It's not.
So it's unfortunate that they did not know all they needed to know to actually know how to give us what we feel like we needed. Maybe like, tell me, I love you, son, or this and that. Yeah, you see. So since they didn't have the available, like the information to actually give us that, now that I am growing up, that's why I'm learning. That's why I'm actually choosing a different path. And I learn how to work from him, but I can't learn being a husband from him. So that I have to differentiate and, okay, let me put these things parallel and say, okay, what can I take from my dad? Because already I carry his DNA. If I'm not intentional, I will repeat some patterns.
Exactly.
Without even knowing. Circles. So, to not belabor this, what do you think about trauma when you hear trauma? How does it affect relationships?
I think when I hear trauma, like I earlier said, there are responses to things that we've been through. Trauma could be anything.
Yeah.
It could be accidents. It could be betrayal for me. Like, it could be anything, basically. It could be armed robbery. Do you understand? Like where I used to live before, I think just 2 years ago, thereabouts, thieves came to the house. So I literally watched them rob the following. My flat was upstairs. So I could definitely see the next compound from my room.
Yeah.
I was alone that night in my flat. And I could watch them going from one house to one house to one house until they finished that compound. And then they came into our own. Now, mind you, they came the previous year and they robbed only that compound. That year, where I was living, they now came into our own. So imagine being able to watch them move from there and come to the...
You're watching a full movie.
Exactly. I was already traumatized just by watching what they were doing. I think the other commanders, the man that they used, he was resistant, so they used machete to hit him when they finally got into his house. Right? So it was terrible. And then they came to our own. And for every bang on we had burglaries. So they robbed my 2 neighbors downstairs. I don't know what just kept them from coming up, but they tried to bend our burglary. And maybe they just got tired and we still had burglary upstairs. I remember that I couldn't leave my room. My laptop was in the sitting room. I couldn't leave my room to go there. Do you know, till date, whenever I hear a certain level of noise, just the door banging or the window, my heart still thumps. So I have that PTSD from that experience. So these things, it happens.
For someone who doesn't know what's PTSD, maybe you tell.
Post-traumatic stress disorder. Yeah. Something you feel after you've gone through something very, very, very stressful, traumatic. So it's till now, like, any noise, I don't think I've really gotten over that, basically. I don't think I've gotten over it. So,
Okay.
as it relates to relationships, like you asked, there are certain things that if we don't deal with it, we are definitely going to take it into our relationships. And the thing is that it is relationships and marriages that actually brings out some of these things in us. When we are just like, hi, I see you in the office. Hi, how you doing? I'm fine. How you doing? I'm fine. And we go our separate ways. There are depths of me you would never know.
Definitely.
And there are depths of you I would never know.
True.
So oftentimes where these things begin to come out is when we are now close to somebody that we say we care about. And if care is not taken, we are going to bleed on that person. So basically for me, trauma has a lot to do with relationships. I think that's why we are calling this heal before you deal, right? You have to realize I have certain things. Where is this anger coming from? Why am I so angry? And then you begin to go back and you begin to ask yourself, where is this coming from? So for me, trauma has a big role to play in relationships, especially childhood traumas. There are people that are married to a 40-year-old man, but there are certain things that probably the wife will do, maybe consciously or subconsciously, that brings that man back to the 8-year-old boy that was probably hurt or watched his mom hurt the dad or the dad hurt him. So he's responding as that 8-year-old child and not the 40-year-old man that the lady married. So he has a very big role to play. Very big
right.
role.
Like when you just mentioned that, when you made that analogy, it just hit something in me. Like it just hit something in me because I just thinking about my life.
Okay.
I realized that around that age, 8 and 9, I was molested.
Wow.
Around that age. And then I carried that all my life. I was never able to tell anybody because I didn't feel safe. I didn't feel safe to tell anybody this. And that, which is a thing I've shared before, but based on these and the thoughts and how it affected me, because clearly it affected my self-esteem. Clearly, like it pushed me on different levels that I did not even know it did. You know, when the event happened, I thought that it has gone, like it's done and gone. Like I thought that let me just leave it out of my mind and then move forward with my life. But I didn't know that I'm just moving with another baggage. I thought I'd moved forward, right?
Yeah.
But now I've become an adult, forgetting that, trying to take that out of my mind. But then it has created insecurity in me that I didn't know existed. It has, that boy, I'm still that boy.
True.
In a man's body growing up. And it's just a few years ago that I just discovered that it is the root of many things that I've actually experienced is that event that happened. And that's not the only event, of course. And some other traumatic events that I never knew that they could affect me. Like I just thought these things that happened, so move on with that. It's almost like we move. So I thought that if you move, the thing has left me, like I've left it behind. But I've realized that these things, you don't leave anything behind if you don't deal with it. You carry the baggage. It's almost like everything that happens to you gives you a bag to wear.
Exactly.
And if you can put that in an analogy, it's like every trauma you experience gives you a bag. Another one adds another bag. So it's almost like you're carrying every load. At some point, you'll be bent over. So, like you said, a 40-year-old man being a 8-year-old kid that was traumatized, it is very true. Because I imagine myself, if I'm not doing the work I'm doing now, I'm being like vulnerable and transparent about my struggle and then getting to discover how it's affecting my relationships. If I'm not doing the work, I get married right now and then it will affect me in many ways. Because that thing affected me for me to become addicted to masturbation. I didn't know. I thought that I didn't know that was one of the roots of why I got addicted to masturbation. And because I was looking for a way to I was sexualized at an early age when it wasn't supposed to be. So now I'm looking for a good way to ease this out. And if not that I had the knowledge of God, that would have led me to becoming promiscuous, right? And someone might not know why I'm promiscuous, but maybe if I don't tell them, or I might not even know why I'm promiscuous, like to be real, to be honest. Because even when I masturbated, I was struggling with masturbation. I didn't know why. At some point when it became an addiction, I just felt like I can't help myself with this. Like, I cannot control it. I cannot stop it. And I was like praying to God, help me and all of that until doing the healing work. Of course, God delivered me from masturbation, but doing the healing work has made me discover that my 9-year-old self was stuck in trying to discover his sexuality And now I'm a child of God. I blame myself that, God is against me because of the teachings that I received. So I just thought that God couldn't love me. I was ashamed. I carried shame. So, shame comes with a lot of insecurity.
Exactly.
So I carried a lot of shame. Of course, in my healing process, scripture says, for your shame, I will give you double honor. And that's why I can even sit down here to talk about the story, to say, okay, my 9-year-old self was stuck in an older body as I grew up, and I was not really growing. I was still a child because emotionally I was still bound. Psychologically I was still bound. I didn't know how this came by. So now I've seen the effects of this. And had it been a woman came into my life as marriage, because my relationship, they actually first did. Every person I dated must have experienced a part of me that was not healthy. And I'm sorry they got to experience that, but they actually helped me to bring those things out. Because I realized that intimacy is what most times will trigger some traumatic experiences.
And that's why you see a lot of marriages are breaking down. Why? Because some people are not willing to do the work. Most times when people get married, they probably enter with the notion that they are perfect. I don't know why. It doesn't make sense, because nobody's actually perfect.
Nobody.
Now, for a marriage to be able to work, right, you need to, when a flaw or something comes up, what you do is that you need to deal with it.
Yeah.
You don't try to shove it off. You don't try to sweep it under the carpet. You don't try to live in denial, because the more you do that, the more you're hurting your spouse. But realizing that, okay, I have this problem, this is where it's coming from, do you understand? Will help you work at it. Now, you said something, that's why I wanted to say this. You said for every of those relationships, it brought this to the surface. So imagine you had gotten married to probably your first girlfriend. So you see that, so it's not like people are having issues that are out of the world that cannot be solved. It is that some of those certain things they will keep coming up.
Definitely.
Marriage is a lifetime thing. That is what God has designed it to be. So those things will keep coming up at different points. But the best thing to do is that when it comes up, what do? You deal with them. Someone cannot say, because I've been sick once, do you understand? I should not take. You keep taking medicine until you're cured. And I think that's one of the very beautiful things about marriage. I feel like marriage is to actually shape us to become better people. Relationships generally are there to shape us to become better people, to shed off those things that needs to be shed off, and to become better versions of ourselves. That's what I think. And then one more thought. Right now, currently, I tell you, when I'm down, when I need somebody to talk to, my mom is my go-to. Do you understand? She's my go-to. Like, I was telling her that I had to send her a message just out of nowhere. I told her thank you, because I don't know what I would have done without you in this season of my life. She's there, she's praying, she's encouraging me. I just know that once I talk to her, I feel better. Sometimes I wonder where she gets her level of faith from. So just imagine if I had that picture of my mom then, who was very young and who was probably trying to figure out herself, not affirming me in that moment. And then I began to distance myself from her. I wouldn't be enjoying all of the benefits of what I enjoy from her today. So
mommy might get to watch this. Mommy, we love you. Thank you.
Very much.
Thank you for everything. Thank you for everything you're doing for Princess. Honestly, a lot of things that happen in our life, we don't really know. Most people don't know though how deep it is, because sometimes we trivialize things, right? And I was in thinking about recording this, right? I was thinking about who in the Bible really had trauma, right? Because you don't really see something like trauma in the Bible. But the person that came to me was David. David was highly traumatized. David was rejected. He was betrayed. He experienced so many things, and his rejection caused a lot of things to him. He was abandoned. So imagine that they call everybody from the house to come, that they want to anoint someone king. And he is part of the son in the house. He is not invited. Nobody knows that this boy exists. He's just that's abandonment. And now God really helped, because God chose him. But then that didn't mean because God chose him to become king that the trauma wasn't there. Because ask me how the trauma showed up. I was just like going through my head the story of David. And I realized that he did not have a father figure. That's why when he met Saul, he fell in love with that father figure as a mentor. And even when Saul wanted to kill him, he couldn't still leave his presence. He couldn't find a way out, because it's almost like this is my father. He called Saul my father, literally, even if you read the scripture. And I discovered that, look at how the abandonment issue is showing up. And then later in David's life, the trauma of rejection and betrayal and all of this trauma, because they are all packaged. It affected him. And then, of course, I know when we preach about David and Bathsheba, we talk about he didn't go to war as a king or whatever. But when I read that, yes, that's part of it. But secondly, he could have still been there and saw the beautiful lady and not do anything and move to his house. But there was lust in him.
Yeah.
Because most times when you experience abandonment, you're looking for love. You're looking for a kind of intimacy though. So now when you don't have it, what comes is the artificial, which is lust. And if you would check David's life, it actually, if you would do an analytical research, you will discover a struggle with lust. Him seeing Bathsheba, he just was filled with lust. Of course, I was just like putting that to today's culture, how you can see naked people everywhere online.
It's normal.
Now, so what would you do now? So he just saw a naked lady and he couldn't hold himself. He's like, call me that lady, because now he has dominance, he has authority. Now he abused the power that he had. Now, the third thing that I discovered about that David being traumatized was when his son abused the sister, which is raped the sister, he didn't say a word. He remained silent. His rejection issue has made him freeze. Had it been he said something, maybe it would have helped Absalom not to turn out not to kill the brother like he did. Now, I'm just talking about the ripple effects of something happened to you and then you bleed on so many other things. Now, David had bled on so many places that he killed Uriah.
Yeah.
Just to cover up whatever. So, and most times, like bringing it back to our culture, that's why you see men that go into, become promiscuous. They have a beautiful wife. And the problem is that it has nothing to do with the wife.
Exactly.
It has nothing to do with that woman.
We live in a culture where when the man is cheating, they say maybe the wife is not doing something at home.
That's wrong.
Or she's not giving him peace. But people forget that.
Or she's not sleeping with him as much as she's supposed to.
There are people, what's the name of that man? What country was he from that was sleeping with many senators, sleeping with all these top men? Yeah. Did you see his wife? Did you see how many children they had? So do you think for them to have that number of children, do you know how many times they would have had intercourse? So then to even have that number of children. So sometimes it beats my mind why somebody will just come out and say, especially with all these cases like you, the Dochi and the rest, say the wife was not giving him peace. Sometimes, no matter what you do, somebody that wants to go out will still go out.
Now, hot people. You cannot stop a broken person from breaking others that does not deal with their brokenness. Now, that's why I said you keep on bleeding, which I want you to talk about, that when you don't heal, you bleed on people that didn't cut you. And that happens even in dating, that happens in different phases of relationship. It happens with friendship. Because someone did this to you, so now it has become a resolve.
Exactly.
It's become a resolve that you made towards life and towards how you see friends, how you see relationship, how you see people generally. Because like I was saying, a man claiming that it's the wife's inability to sleep with him as much as he wants that makes him go out, that's a big lie.
That's rubbish.
That's a big lie, because most times some of these things have a deep-rooted thing. Like, people don't want to look deeper to deal with some of those things that are hurting them. Because some people may not really know. So maybe the question I might ask you is like, do you think people even know how unsafe they are when they go into a relationship?
Unsafe they are when they go into relationship
because of the unhealed trauma they have.
I think they don't really know. Most people do not know, but it takes a certain level of self-awareness to know that I have these things in my life, and I know that they will show up whenever I'm in a relationship with anybody. So I need to start working on them now. So it takes another whole new level of self-awareness to know that. Right now, I'm in a bad place. And dating anybody or marrying anybody will not yield very good results.
That's
so
good.
Some people know, yes.
Some know, some don't. So which means someone that knows and goes into it might be a controlling person or narcissist.
Controlling.
Might be a controlling person.
Someone that doesn't know.
Someone that knows.
That they have issues.
That they have issues and they go into relationship.
A narcissist can never know that they have issues because they are never self-aware. And they never take responsibility. So if you're wondering if you're a narcissist, you're not a narcissist. If you're wondering if you're a narcissist and if you're okay, if you're a self-aware person, you cannot be a narcissist because they never look inward.
That's good. They are self-conscious.
Are they self-conscious?
Yeah, because, there's a difference between self-consciousness and self-awareness. Self-conscious people just know they get angry. Like, it's like somebody coming to you now as a guy and say, I know sometimes I have anger issues. They know that they have anger issues, but they are not self-aware enough to know how that can affect. So it's almost like owning, like, I know I have anger issues and this and that. So maybe an issue happened and then they're like, it's because you talked to me that way. That was why, I already told you that I have anger issues. Now that's manipulation and control. Of course, that's a narcissist talking.
Yeah, they're manipulating.
Yeah, so now it's like, I already told you that I have anger issues, and I told you to keep quiet when you were talking and you were still talking. So that made me raise my hand. But you can see that they are self-conscious.
If that's the word you want to use, that's okay. But one thing I agree with what said now is that they deflect.
Yeah.
They don't take responsibility. They always deflect. It's always your fault. Yeah. It's never their fault.
Yeah. So now that means they know what they are doing.
They know what
because that's the point I was trying to bring. Some people know what they are doing. But not everybody knows because I've seen something online that they say everybody that hurts you, they know what they are. Not everybody knows what they are doing. Like that's why I asked. Some people don't know how unsafe they are when they get into a relationship. But some do know. So for those people that don't know how unsafe they are, I want you to maybe elaborate on the self-awareness. How can somebody become self-aware? Or what can make someone become self-aware if that is not me trying to bug you too much?
It's not too much. I'm trying to.
Alright, it's okay.
I think, for example, now, right?
Yeah.
Let's say I'm not aware of certain things. There are certain things you don't even know that are inside of you, except you go into a relationship, and then it begins to come up.
Surface, yeah.
Do you understand? So let's say I don't know certain things, because as I am now about myself, what I'm saying is that, for example, when I mean that, let me buttress my earlier what I said when you ask people know they're unsafe, how unsafe they are. So I'm speaking from a positive angle.
Yeah.
Knowing that there are certain things in me that are not good. So I know that when I enter a relationship, it might come up. Yeah. That will make me to work harder, to work at it. So that's the positive angle.
Yeah.
But I think you're coming from the negative part, that these people don't even want to take responsibility for whatever it is that they know. Like, for example, you have anger issues. So whenever I do something to you, for example, you pass the blame on me. I think so. You're coming from the negative. Those people that know, they don't even want to work on it. Yeah. So me, I'm coming from the angle of I know I have this problem, and I need to be wary of it. I need to be careful so that it doesn't affect the person I'm in a relationship with. So I think that has answered. Beautiful. Yeah, that's solved that part. Then for what you asked me now, how do we become self-aware, right? I think, let's say if I'm dating somebody, right, I'm in a relationship with you, for example, right, and I think when certain things begin to happen, maybe you speak to me in a way that I don't like, and then I overreact. It takes, I don't think, for me, so far you're okay, mentally sane. Because a lot of people have mental illness and they don't know. I'm not saying it to Yabo. Don't misunderstand me. But it's a fact. It's just that in Nigeria we don't take these things seriously. Do you understand? So long as you're saying, there is no way you will not know that this thing somebody did to you does not warrant the kind of reaction that you did.
That's true. So
you go back. I will go back now and ask myself, Princess, what this guy did, I think you overdid it. Where is this coming from? And then if I'm being honest with myself, I might begin to think, I said, okay, maybe it's from my previous boyfriend. Do you understand? Maybe it's the way he used to treat me, or maybe he was not an honest person. I'm trying to think of a typical example. Let's say probably you didn't pick up your call. I called you like 2 times, you did not pick up. I called you after a while, 2 times, you did not pick up. And you're not trying to tell me, babe, I was in a meeting, all those kind of things. But because the other person that I was with
was always in the kind of meeting.
Do you understand? And then I now got to find out that he was cheating. So I now react in a way to you that, do you understand where I'm going to now? So you automatically, I'm aware now that Omo Princess, you're beginning to take whatever it is that is coming from this guy. Exactly. And that's why you need to heal before you deal. Do you understand? And the truth is that you might not be able to heal entirely. In fact, some things will always pop up. But the willingness to one, be self-aware. I've come back to self-aware and be willing to work on it, be teachable is what makes all the difference. There's nothing as bad as somebody being sick and not knowing they are sick or not being able to admit that they are sick. That person cannot get help or cannot be well.
That's
so
good.
You somehow you have to know.
You should give a round of applause for that anyways. That's actually a very beautiful one. Like, even like what you said about the self-awareness, the fact that you even consider yourself that me going into this relationship, some things might come up.
Yeah.
That's self-awareness already. Like, because self-awareness doesn't mean that you know everything up front.
You can't.
It means you are so aware that things might come up.
Yes.
And once they come up, you're not to push blame. Because I think most times we can be so quick to push blame and be like, you made me do this, you did this, you made me do that. But self-awareness means you don't push blames.
You are aware and you want to be responsible.
It talks about accountability.
Yes.
Because if you see someone that is accountable, they are very self-aware. It takes someone that is self-aware to be very accountable. Like it's almost like I'm intentional and I'm accountable. When things happen, I take responsibility for it. I know the part that I did. It doesn't mean you are like, I'm sorry, I did everything. No, sometimes no. It's like, I know what I contributed to this. You know, this is how growing up and becoming an adult, this is how what I understood about resolving issues, right? When I have issues with people, I'm like, the first thing I want to do is to see where I was wrong in the matter.
Exactly.
Before I even see where you were wrong, I will see where I was wrong. That will let me know where you were wrong. But if I want to push blame, I may not even see where I was wrong. So what I do for myself is check where I was wrong and then bring it up. When I am accountable, I know where I was wrong and I spot that, okay, this is where I was wrong because I have to communicate about it. Yeah. If I keep it to myself, I'm not doing anybody any good. I'm not doing myself good. I'm not doing the person good. So, okay, I was wrong here and I'm sorry for this. But then when we talk, we all have to accept where we were wrong.
Yes.
To actually come to a meeting point. Because it doesn't mean that when something happened, everybody, like, sometimes it happens like, okay, you were wrong and you were wrong. But for some of the things that happen, especially in relationship, sometimes you have a part that you played and I had a part that I played. And my duty as a self-aware person is to acknowledge and take accountability and responsibility for where I was wrong. And apologize, not even when necessary. When you discover you were wrong on something, apologize.
That's what I'm saying. Like, during the conversation, you apologize where necessary. At the points where you need to, you apologize. Because
now you can't even have a level of vulnerability and transparency if you're not self-aware.
It's not possible.
You cannot.
It's not juju.
It's not juju. All right. So this came to mind. What are the filters that you feel like trauma can bring up in terms of communication in a relationship, trust, and every other thing? Because trauma actually has filters, right? And of course, we know the trauma responses are fight, flight, fawn, and freeze. The 4 trauma responses. So, but what are those filters that, I don't know, maybe if you have any example of like, okay, when communication comes up and the trigger comes up, if there are filters that trauma brings into relationship that affects relationship that people need to heal before they deal. So I don't know if you
break down the English for me. When you mean filters.
Okay.
I also understand your question.
It kind of like the filter is like a lens or the perception.
Okay.
Right? That is trauma informed.
Okay.
Because, okay, like now, let's say I was traumatized. Okay, like you talk about relationship, right? I was in a relationship and then when I'm having communication with someone, with my girl, and then she's always like, when we have an issue, we want to address it because like for me, I'm a very confrontational person. Okay. And I want to like address it now. Okay. So she'll be like, now we can't talk about it now. I'm not cool with that. I don't have the strength to talk about it now. Okay. And then she runs away. And then I allow it to make peace. No, now that's a running away. Wait, hold on now. So now she runs away and I'm like, okay, let me keep the peace. But when I come back to talk about it, she's like, let's throw away the archeries in the past. Now, hold on now. When I get into another relationship, I'm coming with full force because that has created a filter for me. Okay. I'm like, because it must have traumatized me. I didn't like it. Instead of us having that conversation that we needed to have, we are fighting over it. We are fighting over what we were supposed to talk about. So now that has become a filter. When I get into another relationship, that might make me double down on my confrontation.
Yeah, you want to talk about it immediately.
Now.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you know about any other filters like filters that happen, I mean, in communication, like, I mean, if you have example or something like that.
So you said something about fight, flight, and all of
Fawn,
that.
freeze, yeah, the trauma responses.
I'll speak my own understanding.
Yeah, that's fine.
If I'm not getting it, just
It's
call me
okay,
back.
come on.
So I think, like you said, rightly said,
Yeah.
you can be in a relationship with someone that doesn't like to talk about anything. Do you understand?
Is that healthy?
Very unhealthy.
Thank you.
Because it's like a time bomb waiting to explode. That relationship is like a time bomb waiting to explode. And I don't know how else to put it, but that is what it is. When you're not able to share what's in your heart, and you're not even letting the next person you're with share what is in their heart, how are you going to work? Everything is just going to be surface. In Igbo, they'll say, anyway, no, on top. That's what it's going to be. And you cannot, and you cannot deep down, you can't even get the best of that relationship. You know that certain times it's after when there's a misunderstanding and you resolve it, that you get connect deeper. Do you understand?
You're right with that.
But if you keep on deflecting, you're not taking responsibility. You don't want to talk about it. You're going to be damaging your relationship. Whether it's normal platonic relationship, whether it's marriage, that's even the worst, because this is like someone you're supposed to do life with. So you need to learn, for people that like to be defensive or take flight, you need to learn how to face that fear. And then again, it's coming from a place. And you begin to ask now, when you're with somebody and the person acts in certain ways, you begin to ask yourself, so you just know that this person had childhood trauma coming from somewhere. And you begin to ask yourself, where is this coming from? And if that person is honest, see, there's nothing that is as good as communication in any form of relationship. To be honest with that person, see, babe, I have a problem. When I was growing up, this is how probably I saw my parents quarrel all the time. Forgive me if I tend to shout when we are trying to solve issues.
That's true.
Forgive me if I'm trying not to talk about it. Maybe I'm scared to talk about it because of the responses I saw from my parents. Anytime maybe my mom tried to talk to my dad was not responsive. So whenever I want to talk, I prefer just to sweep it under the rug. So many things could cause different things, right? So you just have to be willing to learn. Willing to be teachable. You just need to be teachable. You just need to be self-aware. I'm telling you that a lot of marriages wouldn't be broken today if the parties involved were self-aware, and if they are willing to do the work involved. Because if I know that I have an issue in certain areas and I'm able to admit it to my spouse will know how to help me.
Definitely.
And I'm also working to help myself. Why would the relationship not work? It will work. It will work. It just has to work. So we need to identify what is causing me to react like this. I was in a relationship one time where the person was doing things, yes, but some of my responses was from what I'd seen before. Do you understand? And in that same relationship, I felt that person I used to ask him then, I said, I feel like you're punishing me for something somebody else did to you. It's not me. It's not me.
Funny enough, I've told someone.
Yes, and I always told him, you're punishing me for something else somebody did to you. Because I don't see what I did now that it's making you treat me like this. Or you're being so defensive. Or you're being so antagonistic. I think that's the word.
Right.
Do you understand? So there's so many things. We need to really deal with a lot of things. Like, if not, the person that you're with, that person will hear it. The person will hear we.
You'll feel like
the person will hear unnecessary we that is not supposed to hear. I don't know. Did I answer your question?
You over answered the question anyways.
Thank God.
I enjoy what you said.
It's sad, really. It's just when you see a lot of things and you just see that this is not the person I married, or this is not the person that I'm with. Something is bringing this out. I was watching between a couple that's married over years, and she said that she knew that at certain times the way she was responding was her 5-year-old self, her 7-year. I've forgotten the age she said she was. She knew it was that girl that was responding to what her husband did. Do you understand? So we need to look inward. It's very important to be. If you don't look inward, you cannot have a good relationship. Possible. It's not possible. It's not possible.
No, you're right. I agree with you 100%. And then you made some really cool points that I might like to just, like when you talk about communication in a relationship.
It's almost, it's not something, it's expedient. It's
something
it's
I heard about that is like, as sunlight is to flower, so is communication to relationship.
Exactly. If not,
because
it will die.
Without it, relationship, I always do say relationship is not a living thing. So a living thing, of course, will live. Relationship is living because there are two healthy people that are together working to make it work. Without that, it can become very stagnant, like a stagnant water that becomes dead things. That is what you discover at the end of the day. So from what you were saying, I actually spotted some of the, like you've explained some of the trauma response, even from the examples you gave. Because, okay, like when you said to the person you were in a relationship with, that they are punishing you for someone else's, what someone else did to them. I've actually said that to someone because I'm self-aware. I know myself and I know my heart, right? But sometimes you're with someone and then because they don't know you, they can't see, of course, they can't see anybody's heart, but they can't trust you because they don't know your heart. So now they are giving you a treatment as if they are giving someone that hurt them sometimes.
Exactly.
And I've experienced that also. And then that is kind of like a responding by fighting. And then you've talked about the upbringing of people that shows up in their marriage or relationship, whichever, which I've actually known that some people, they can go into fights. Sometimes you go into this trauma response and we feel like it's a way to keep the peace. And as we were talking, what came to me is the scripture never commended peacekeeping. It commended peacemaking. And peacemaking will bring about some form of confrontation, which is communication, for you to confront. And when I talk about confrontation in this regard, it's not confronting the person, but the issue. Because sometimes we leave the issue and we confront the person, attacking the person's personality. And I've experienced that also, almost like making the person the issue and leaving the issue itself. Like talk about what happened and the issue. What triggered you? What is the trigger that brought this to you? Let's talk about the issue. So sometimes someone will either go into fight, like I'm a confrontational person. Mine, if I want to respond from trauma, I might go into like fighting. But another person might be like, fun, just, I don't want this, I don't want to talk. So anything when you do, 10 missed calls, I'm not picking your call. Don't call me again. And the other person might just freeze, just die the matter. Never talk about this. So, and then just all these trauma responses, and we feel like it's helping us keep the peace, but it's not keeping any peace because from world news, Ukraine and Russia were always trying to keep peace until the thing imploded. They cannot keep peace again. Now they are in a war. So most times peacekeeping in relationship with avoiding conversations and talking about things, it will implode one day. And like you said, once it implodes, nobody can stay again. It actually scatters the whole thing. And which is, it's very important and crucial not to keep things in. If you are triggered, it's better you come, because there's a way to talk about things. I can tell, okay, for me, for example, if I might say, okay, you hurt me, and I come to you because of what you said, I'm not attacking you because I want to attack the issue. How do I arrive at that? How do I address that? Okay, the way you spoke to me, this is how it made me feel. That is a very good way to go about it. Like, not like, why did you speak to me that way? That I'm coming to fight. But if I come to you and said, the way you spoke to me, it made me feel this way. It made me feel dehumanized. It made me feel like insulted. Okay, as a man,
it's different from saying you
insulted
dehumanized me. You did this. You did this to me. You used I felt.
Yes.
I think
it's giving language to it. It doesn't, like, I think it's that self-awareness that does it, because now you've actually searched within to know this is how this person makes me feel. So now I know better how to communicate with you. You did this to me, it made me feel this way. So for me not to put it on you, maybe you did it ignorantly, you made me feel this way by what you did. So now the person can now explain to you, okay, I didn't mean to make you feel that way, right? You can say that is going to a very beautiful place. And I love what you said, that most times if you can address issues in your relationship, it gets you deeper.
Of course.
And
You
sometimes
understand the other person better and vice versa.
that's why relationship was never to be without disagreements.
It's not anybody that is looking for a relationship or a marriage without conflict or disagreement. He's looking for
Yes, personal.
he's looking for life without oxygen. I'm not saying be fighting, but there are necessary things that must happen for a level of understanding to happen. Conflict must happen for a level of understanding to happen.
Yeah.
No matter what, no matter how much you love somebody, you people must disagree on something once in a while. If you have a relationship where people are not arguing about anything, one person is just telling you, okay, there's a problem.
So now, for someone
A serious problem.
for someone that feels like the disagreement is a problem, I believe what you said can really help the person because, like, let me tell you, coming from where I came from, like, we're talking about trauma here, heal before you do, right? Coming from where I came from, I had the notion that when I get into a relationship, I don't want any fight, disagreement, anything. Now I understand. Because I'm telling you where I came from, right? Because I saw too much fight, disagreement, every disagreement led to a fight. Every disagreement, there was no healthy way to handle disagreement, to resolve the conflict. So now, it registered in my mind, it's better to avoid the conflict, avoid the disagreement, because I will not beat my wife, I will never touch a woman, I will never beat a woman, I will never do this and that. But for me to avoid that, it means any form of this thing, of disagreement or conflict, if I have my way, I might dodge, I might avoid the thing, I might run away from it. But then I got to realize that as growth came in and then I healed from some things, I discovered that was a bad lens to have. That was not a healthy lens to have. Now, the lens I have now is, I'm not looking for the disagreement, right?
No, nobody wants it.
Nobody wants it,
Something
but
that must happen.
I'm not looking for it, but I know that it exists because you and I did not grow up in the same place.
Totally different.
We are very different. Now,
even siblings.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to say. Because if you grew up with your sibling, you were groomed the same way, and then you disagree.
How much
so what
was
makes
somebody
you think
else entirely?
Someone that you came from different places. You know, when the Bible says that a man will leave his father and mother and cleave to his wife, if you understand the word leave very well, like if you even study the root word leave, it's not about living physically like we want to put it. It's leaving the ideologies like around them that is not going to benefit your life. Because first of all, you need to spot the ideologies in your family that were not beneficial. Because I see people that get into a relationship and they're like, this is how my mom did it. This is how my dad did it. Drop the ideologies. You are leaving to cleave. So when we cleave, let's talk about how we want to handle this matter. Not like, you don't come telling me this is what we used to do. It's about, okay, how do we want to handle this? Because if I'm leaving, we really have to leave. We really have to leave the ideologies, because I have to leave many ideologies that I grew up with. Because they cannot serve this life that I want to live. And the kind of man I want to be for my wife, for my family, the ideologies that I've seen even around the culture, I cannot adopt them. I can't adopt some ideologies that is being shared about, oh, women are this, men are this, or this and that. If I adopt every ideology, it can shape the way I think. It can inform me in the wrong way about this area of relationship. So, you want to contribute?
No, it's fine. If you said it, I think the most important thing is, how do you resolve conflict?
Yeah.
So if you're going to a relationship or you're getting married, know that having conflict is not bad, in quotes, right? Conflict is not fight. It's not quarrel. Have that in mind. Right? Just know that conflicts are going to happen. But how are we going to resolve it? That's the most important thing. Conflict resolution. And it's something you can learn on the job.
Definitely.
You can't learn everything, no matter the amount of books you read or counseling you go for before you get to marriage. You cannot learn everything. I'm not saying you should not learn. I'm someone that is very keen on learning and improving, especially when it comes to marriage and relationships. You can't learn everything, but be teachable. So have it in mind that I'm going to have misunderstandings with my husband, or I'm going to have misunderstandings with my wife, but it must not lead to quarrel. and exchange of words and everything. We can have disagreements, is conflict.
Yeah.
Just go, babe, sit down, let's talk about this thing. I don't like what happened. This is how I felt. Oh, okay. You talk about it calmly and you resolve it. Eat popcorn, watch movie, you rest and you sleep. Do you understand?
Yeah,
and then another thing you have to keep in mind for relationships or marriage is that you are a team. He said something about not confronting when he talks about, because I was going to tell him it's confrontation, but then he explained it and said confronting the issue, not necessarily the person, not the person, not even not necessary, right? So when you understand that I'm on the same team with this person, what you are trying to fight is the problem. He's not my enemy. Do you understand? I'm not his enemy. Do you understand? So when you have that in mind, it will also help you. I'm a team with this person. We are fighting the problem. We are fighting the devil. Do you understand? So these are two things we need to keep inside of us. One, we are a team, especially for married couples. Two, there must be conflict, but conflict resolution is the most important thing. How do you resolve?
That's so beautiful. Now, as we were talking about the conflict resolution, what came to me was the idea of defensiveness. That came to me because I've been let me put this right away. I've been labeled that I was defensive. Okay. But now, of course, you learn, like you said, you learn in the job.
Everything.
Now, I'm someone based on my trauma response, right? And everything that I've been through. So sometimes I want to over-explain even. And in my way to over-explain what I meant by why I did what I did, it's seen as defensiveness. Because I think sometimes you can even mistake what is defensiveness. Defensiveness and deflection can actually look alike sometimes. Like, I mean, in communication, right?
Okay.
Deflecting the other person's point of view. Because you're trying to appoint your own, like to raise your own point of view. Okay. So you're deflecting, okay, they said this is what you did. They say, no, that's not what I did. You get, that's you that's
deflecting, but you're also putting
you're
defending that person.
Yeah. You're defending yourself. So you cannot have a healthy conflict resolution when you don't deal with your defensiveness. Now, what did I learn by that? Because I know two things can be true. I didn't know that earlier when I was in that situation, but I've come to realize that therapy-wise, even more than two things can be true. But let's just start with two things can be true, right? So it can be true that I didn't mean to hurt you by what I said. And it's also true that you are hurt.
Yes, by what you said.
By what I said. So now, because this is very important, if I come to you and you are telling me that I hurt you, this is where I'm coming from my experience, because I didn't mean to hurt you. So I'm trying to defend myself. That I did not. What is in my heart is that wasn't meant to hurt you. But now you're hurt. But that is true to you. But in my defense, I will shut down the resolution. Because you're like, but you fought me. And I'm like, that's not what I meant, like trying to over-explain.
And that's why earlier I said, apologize when necessary. I think before you begin to explain yourself, you should be able to at least admit. There's something with women.
Yeah.
If I come to my man and say, babe, you've hurt me, I feel really bad by what you said. Sometimes women are not even looking for 2 minutes. They're just looking for small pampering.
Are you sure all women are like that?
I'm thinking most women that are sane. Do you understand?
No. But
I don't know how to explain
hold on. Some women are still sane, but because everybody is molded differently. Based on background, upbringing, and all of that. Because I've seen different women, and like I told you, I've dated some people. So I've seen a woman that is like thinking like a man. I've seen a woman that embraces the feminine. Her parts. Yeah. And I've seen a woman that is more masculine. Like, she's not, that feminine part is like, I beg, all this love, I don't like it.
For me, so, I feel like most times, I don't know, Sha, but I know that most women, I'm not saying we'll not talk about it. But when I come to you and I tell you that I feel bad by what you did, I don't expect you to start telling me I did this because I think the first thing that should come is that
teach me. I'm
sorry that you felt this way. Then you can now proceed to say this and this for me.
Okay.
That's what I meant by pamper. I'm not saying you will not pamper me to not address the issue. We are going to address the issue. But first of all, don't start claiming that you're right or don't start explaining. For me, I'll be like, I think that's what I'll do. If my man comes to me and say, oh, you've hurt me, I think the first thing I'm going to do is, oh, babe, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. So that I'm sorry, first of all, has a way of bringing down the temper, first of all, for me. And then you begin to say, okay, this is what I meant. Because you said, now you saying you used to love to over-explain. It comes from a good place. It's not everybody that is able to even admit in the first place. Talk more of over-explaining. So if you're able to do that, it's something. So imagine you combine that with, first of all, saying, oh, babe, I'm sorry you felt hurt. Then you begin to say, oh, it was not my intention. This is what I don't think she's going to be receptive.
Yeah, now, like, I love what you said, and something came up for me as you were talking. Me trying to over-explain came from a place I didn't want to be misunderstood.
I get you.
So I never wanted to be misunderstood, and that came from a trauma. That was trauma-informed, actually. But the reality is that coming to know life better, I've realized that definitely you'll be misunderstood. And that is
it's okay sometimes.
It's okay to be
I used to be an over-explainer.
Yeah,
now I'm not doing it again.
Yeah, that's true.
Do you understand? So you see that it can be in different forms.
Yeah, it can be in different forms.
But the ability to be able to know when to stop.
Yes. So now, what came up for me is that, okay, I love the fact that you said you. Because for some people, after apologizing, don't say anything again.
That means that is where also learning who your partner is comes into play.
So now, because it's a learning curve, and that's why I started by two things can be true. I didn't mean to hurt you, but I've ended up hurting you.
Exactly.
So now, I should hold the tension that that's not my intention, but you're being hurt. So now let me hear you out so that I can avoid that. Because I'm learning this, I got to learn this, not like I knew it.
Before, I
didn't know it before. So, because, like I just explained myself, I used to over-explain, trying to be understood. Like, I want you to understand that this is not, but the truth is, you cannot deflect from their experience. Like, it's just like if you hurt me, you've hurt me.
Exactly.
There's no explanation you can have that can clear the hurt that you. So, but now it means two things are true in this situation.
So now, for me, the purpose for what you said now, the purpose of that explaining. Now, it's two angles. You can be explaining so that you defend yourself, or you can be explaining so that that person will really understand you did not want to hurt them.
Now, that's where I came with. Most times, the heat of the moment is not the time to explain.
Exactly. So you start to say, oh, babe, I am sorry.
And now, for a person like me, I am sorry, and let me accept the tension that it's okay to be misunderstood at this point. I am sorry. It's okay to be misunderstood. That's in my heart.
At this point,
it's okay. It's okay. We talk about it. Like, let me pump myself a little bit. We're going to talk about this. Because like I told you, being someone that was confrontational, it is so hard for me like to let this go. Because I'm like, I don't want you to sleep.
To understand.
I don't want you to sleep over.
I can relate to this part of you because I was like that. Like, I kept on, like, literally sometimes I can be typing, right? And maybe I've apologized. Just my platonic relationship, right? And I find myself over. Sometimes I delete it. Because sometimes, the more you explain to people, there are certain people that will never understand it.
They pick on your words.
And it's okay to be misunderstood sometimes. In this life, not everybody will understand
because sometimes, the more you over-explain, they pick on the things you're saying.
Exactly.
They pick on those things and it becomes a larger issue. Because I've actually... Now, one thing I realized what led to that, the trauma that led to that, thank God we are here, is a people-pleasing tendency. I had that.
I'm a chronic... chronic people overly nice to a fault. I think sometimes God lets us go through certain experiences to purge us of certain things. Bible says, be kind. I didn't know how to say no. So now I know how to say no. I don't need to explain my no to you. Do you understand?
The power of no.
So I don't need to, because you can't buy yourself before time. So there are so many things, and that's why I said sometimes for me I do a lot of self-reflection. Where is this coming from?
Oh, you're right. Now,
where is this coming from? Why am I responding like this? This is not the normal response.
Because at the expense of yourself, you're trying to please other people. And that was me. I call myself a recovering people pleaser. Yes.
It's very bad.
That's what I call myself, because I keep saying I'm a recovering people pleaser. Day by day, I'm learning how, because I lived like that throughout my life.
You don't set boundaries, people will keep walking over you.
I lived like that. I didn't know how to say no. I didn't know how to tell people like, no, I can't do this, or I won't do this. Because I feel bad, so I must overcompensate to make them feel good. And that came from a place of my abuse and the trauma I experienced. And now I discovered that this people pleasing is not helping me. And like you said, being a nice guy,
not help anybody,
being a nice guy, because like I discovered that nice is not a fruit of the spirit.
It's not.
And nice is not what God told us to be. Because Jesus was not nice.
That's boss.
Jesus was
Imagine
not
calling
nice.
somebody brood of vipers.
so that was nice.
He was not nice. Jesus was not nice.
But he was a very kind and loving
He
one.
was good.
He was
the only
good.
good.
He's the only one that is
God.
good.
Yes.
Because it's only God that is good.
Nobody
Now,
is good.
we can only be good when we align with God.
Exactly.
So, I didn't know that because I want to get a good reputation before people.
I don't care.
Now, it's good.
I'm trying not to. I don't care.
And now, the I don't care is not from a negative place.
It's because I own my truth. Now, this is who I am. I know that I am a good person. I'm a kind person. If that is not your perception of me, then you deal with it. Before, I would think for myself and I will still think of other people. And now, tell me how somebody will function well like that.
Like,
it's not possible.
Saying, I can't help you with that. Like, I can't help you with the perception you have about me.
Do you understand? Before I used to worry. Now,
I used to.
I'm not saying I'm totally free, but I've grown.
I'm a recovering people pleaser, and I'm recovering. Like I said, I've grown, and I love that we're having this conversation because these are things to heal from.
Exactly.
Now, getting into relationship, because just drawing from that point, I discovered that my people pleasing showed up as anxious attachment.
Before now, it's true.
I'm like.
And if you're not with the wrong person, you're not finished. Because they will realize, okay, this person.
They'll milk that part of you. They'll
you.
milk that part of you. Because now I have anxious attachments. I'm like, oh, we didn't talk today, so we're gonna act like it's like I'm already in my head like this is gonna cause problems.
And it's funny
stuff,
how anxious attached people always end up with people that are avoidant.
Avoidant attachment.
Conflict avoidant.
Yeah.
It's sad.
Because it's an attraction.
God help us.
It's an attraction, actually. You attract who you are, right? So now, because you are anxiously attached, when you go after someone,
you go, the other person is running.
So
very toxic.
Yeah, it's a very toxic thing because it's trauma. It's a trauma thing. Now you are going after the person, and the person is like trying to do like they want to avoid, they want to run. So now you have the energy to.
I don't get energy again.
So
I don't get.
So, like, this is actually something that everybody needs to know that it's very important to deal and heal from. Because healing, when we talk about healing, is not even linear. Some people might be watching and be like, how can I arrive here? So I don't know if you can, like, how can you even arrive here? Can you give them at least a word to encourage them? How can they arrive at a place of like,
healing?
I can hear what you guys are saying, where you are, you're no longer a people pleaser. How can I even, because maybe someone is in the thick of it.
For me, it was experience that, there are some kind of things that happen to you like this. You just sit down and think of your life and you begin to understand that this thing that is doing me like this is not going to help you. You come to a point where you're tired of certain things. You're tired of people disrespecting you. You're tired of people walking all over you because they feel like you don't have sense. If someone is being kind to you, it's not that they don't have sense. It's not that they don't have self-worth. It's not that if someone keeps tolerating you, it does not mean that they are weak people. It just means that they have plenty love to give.
Yeah.
Do you understand?
Say that again.
So because they have plenty love to give, right? Just today, I think this I may be deviating a bit, but I just wanted to point out something. You're not a mumu if you love people. It doesn't make you a weak person.
Nah.
if you're expressive, you wear your heart on your sleeves. It doesn't if you're giving someone the love and the person cannot accept it, just don't downgrade to that person's level. If the person cannot step up, the person should go. Or you don't even need to wait for the person to go. You carry yourself and be going. Go to where you're appreciated, where that your love can be received. Because it's very draining. You keep pouring out love on somebody who cannot receive love. Do you understand? And now, let me tell you now, this is also a certain kind of trauma that somebody needs to heal from. Because say you are with somebody that could not receive love. The person will tell you something like, your love is too much, or you're too caring. And then you move into another relationship now. And then you begin to withhold on somebody that is giving you everything. Do you understand? So these are things that if we want to talk now, there's so many things to talk about. I don't think we even live here.
We can't.
But the truth is that, right? Do you? right? Be authentic. I think the main thing is God should send us people that would appreciate who we are, who will be able to receive the love we give them,
Amen.
and be able to reciprocate that love,
Amen.
and not push us away. I think that is like the main thing.
Like, you're on point on that.
Yeah. Back to what you're saying about how do you heal. Like I said earlier on, I said a sick person cannot get well if they do not realize that they are sick. They can't get well. Now, I cannot heal if I do not realize that I'm a broken woman. If I do not realize that I have certain tendencies, I cannot even begin the journey. There's something they taught us in school. The first thing to solve a problem is, number one, identifying the problem. There's an acronym I had for this thing. I was trying to remember. I can't remember.
Did you study engineering?
No, I studied organizational planning.
Because I think I had something like that in engineering.
Yeah, I think we took some courses similar to civil and all that. So the first thing is identifying the problem. So you cannot heal if you have not identified, I have issues with the para. Do you understand?
Yeah.
You need to be honest to yourself. Bible tells us we should examine ourselves. So it's something you should do constantly. It's something I do all the time. I come back home from work. I begin to ask myself, did I react well? Did I speak in a way that was good?
Sure.
I constantly just examine. Or even when somebody talks down on me, you're going to see people at work like that will treat you in a way. And then I ask myself, did I stand up for myself? Or did I cower? Like, did I shrink and move? Do you understand? So, for me, for you to even think of healing, first of all, you need to be self-aware. You need to be able to examine yourself. My heart is broken. I cannot give this love again for now.
Yeah.
Do you understand?
True.
So that is the first step. Know yourself. Know thyself. Know thyself.
Be self-aware.
Self-aware, number one. Number two, be willing to get the help that you need.
That's so important.
Yes. A lot of people know they have a problem, but they don't want to get the help that they need. Either it's pride or ego, or just plain stubbornness, or the fact they just want to be locked in bitterness, but they don't want to get the help that they know that they need. So the next step from getting to the point where, okay, I know I have a problem, I need to get help. That is the next thing. Be willing to get help.
Yeah.
Be really know that you need help. Be receptive to help.
It's okay to receive help.
So it's okay. So it doesn't make you less of a person.
Yeah.
If a friend points out to you, somebody genuinely cares about you, and person tells you, princess, you're overdoing this one, be willing to say, okay, I think I overdid. It takes a lot to be able to admit that you're wrong.
Yeah.
So be willing to get help. For me, how I'm able to heal through the things that life has dealt me, is God. I will say it though.
Say it.
I don't know. I don't know any other way to be okay in this life, right? Except God. I think He's the one that heals us. Not I think. It is God that heals us. I know that He heals us. He sends us people that are there for us. He could send you a counselor, a therapist, anybody. May I believe in therapy. I believe in counseling. If you can afford it for a Christian, I advise you go to a Christian counselor, somebody that is deeply rooted. Before somebody will go and tell you something like, watch porn, I'm going to deviate a bit so that you can perform well in bed with your spouse. Do you understand? Because that's the principles they believe in. But as a Christian, I would advise that you go to a therapist or a counselor that is deeply rooted in God's word. So that whatever they are giving to you is biblical.
It's in line.
So
with
it's biblical, yes. It's in line with scripture. It's in line with what God says. So for me, this is it though. Don't let whatever it is you've been through define you. There are two responses to things. I have like a spiritual father. His marriage, he just did 30 years in marriage. And never would I have thought that he came from an abusive home. Until one day I went to visit in their house and he was telling me that his dad used to beat up his mom. And he told himself that it will not happen with him. Now, it could have been two ways. This man could have grown up, gotten married to his wife, and become a wife beater.
Yeah.
It could have been justified also.
Yeah, definitely.
Because circles repeat themselves. It's
Those
almost
are
you
patterns,
cannot
yeah.
even help it. They are patterns. And if you don't break it in the place of prayer and through intentionality, it's going to repeat itself.
Definitely.
And I was shocked because you need to see their marriage.
Beautiful.
It's beautiful. And you would never have guessed that this man is coming from
That route.
this kind of route. So it's you. It depends on you. You choose how things happen. It's either they destroy you or they make you. If I was abused now as a child, it's either I choose to become promiscuous or I use that and find a way to, there are certain people that trauma, we didn't even go to the parts of trauma, sexual, you mentioned it. There are people that because of being, probably they were raped, they can't even be intimate with their husbands. It becomes difficult. Some people on the other end becomes hypersexual. So it's always
there's
two
no
different
balance. Yeah,
things.
it's extremes.
It's extremes most of them, but there must be balance. No one is good. When you get married, God expects you to be intimate with your spouse, whether male or female.
True.
It is in the Bible. Say, do everything to satisfy your spouse. If you're wondering where it is, I think it's in 2 Corinthians 7 or 1 Corinthians 7. One of the two. 1 Corinthians 7. Thank you. So it is biblical. So no one is good. So my dear, be self-aware. Be willing to get help. Hold on to God. Have good friends. If you have good friends you can talk to too about certain things, fine. If it's in terms of marriage, speak with your spouse and let both of you walk through it. Encourage each other, build each other, and then, I've answered the question.
Be self-aware, identify the problem, and then
that's how we can
go seek for help. No, that's a beautiful thing, because for someone, if you are in that place, in the thick of it, you're like, I think I have problem from all these things that you guys are saying. I think I just discovered that all these patterns that I see in my dating and relationship or even marriage, I just discovered that is a problem. I thought it was the normal. This is just me. This is who I am. But I discovered that who I am is a problem.
Who you are is a problem. Who I am is a problem. We need to be able to deal with who I am.
You need to heal. You need to heal that person. So those 4 points actually are very good. And then the point you made, which I really want to portray as we end today's conversation, we can talk again. Okay. You're up for it. So the point you made about sometimes attracting the wrong people. Yeah. Or attracting the opposite of who you are, which is none of it is actually healthy. You're anxious attached, and then you attract an avoidant attached and all of that. And then you mentioned a point about having too much love. And it's not a lie. You just have it. But you are pouring into someone that is closed off.
You're like pouring water.
Come on now.
Not you them.
You're pouring it on someone that cannot receive the love. And then it's almost like your own is too much. All this love. I'm not a love person. I'm an action or whatever. So the point you made, which like a prayer you raised, is something that's so important to me. And which is why I'm coming back to this. Most times we attract these things because we've not yet healed.
Exactly.
Because once you heal, you spot it. You don't even go there. Exactly. you have to move to a different place. Exactly. Because if I keep pouring love to you and you can't receive the love, I need to withdraw.
I don't need to. I'm not your healer.
One thing I discovered is that the fact is that I've been talking to my friend about these things and more. So we talk about everything. We share vulnerably. I've told him the fact that I love someone so deeply and they couldn't receive the love doesn't mean I can take back that love. Now, love is like an energy. You can't destroy it, but you can transfer it or convert it, right?
If you don't want to take it to who wants.
I've poured the love here. I can't start behaving somewhere else to show you, okay, all my love, since you can't take, No. I just have to redirect the energy and focus on who needs that and who can actually reciprocate that. Because me too, as I'm pouring, I need it back. Because the fact is that, okay, like me, I'm a very energetic person. I have a lot of energy. If it comes to love, I love extremely. Like everything is almost like I'm very energetic.
Sorry to put something. Okay. Also, having so much love. Yeah. I've learned something that having too much love is good. Like having so much love to give is also good. But the place where it's coming from is also very important.
Yeah, it is.
Why are you giving out so much? I'm not saying you, but when I say why are you, audience, even
all
me,
of us,
is the you in this case. Yeah. Why are you giving out so much? Is it coming from a place of validation?
Yeah, true.
Where is it coming from? Is it coming from a place of lack?
Yeah.
Do you understand? we need to identify some things.
Yes.
So why
So
am I
that-
doing
yes,
this?
Why do I do
Because
this?
what you're showing is also as important as what is the
what
motive
is the motive behind
what
why are you
you
even doing this?
are doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, because even to broach that, because over the years I've actually asked I asked myself why I love people. Once I love someone, I ask, why am I loving this person? And most times I talk about God, the agape love that God has poured out to me is so marveling that I can't help but pour it to anybody that comes into my space. I can't help but love you unconditionally. And that's why, as a guy, when I love someone, when I get into a relationship, I don't love you because I want to get anything from you. I'm not giving you things because I want to get sex. I'm not even looking for your sex. I don't want to sleep with you.
For those that are doing transactional, somebody sang song, he said, why are you my what? I have heard that song, which I don't even know the song, talking about you're my girlfriend, but I'm paying for the sex every night. I don't understand.
Why should
this one will buy for me something. So if because you bought for me something, I should sleep with you. It's crazy. Some of the things I see on social media.
So unhealthy though, because now sex and whatever that doesn't even apply.
Like anyways. You can hear a girl now say maybe somebody raped her. They will now say, okay, have you been eating his money? How is that a justification?
You see, that's crazy, and that's why I said, okay, like let me go back, because if you want to go into that topic, that's another topic on its own. So as a guy, I've said, okay, when I love, I'm just loving from my heart. I don't want sex from you. I don't want to sleep with you because my heart is that pure. And of course, even before you even start, I will tell you no strings pulled. And you think I'm playing, you think I'm just telling like other Christian guys, because I know a lot of Christian guys say these things and they don't keep up to it. I am intentional. So I know what I'm saying and I'm going to keep up to it by the grace of God. Not as if it's easy, because once I love you, my body wants you. But it's that discipline of self-control that I said, okay, we're not going to do this. We're not going there. So now I've been able to address, where is this love coming from? I know that I'm not trying to get something from you. Now, coming back to where I grew up, I didn't receive love. So I always had to check that. Is it because I'm pouring out love because I want someone to validate me by loving me back to feel love? No, I already feel loved. At some point, I did not. But in growth, I discovered that I'm already loved. I've already been, that hole that I needed to be filled is God's hole. It wasn't even my dad or anybody else. Of course, if my dad did it, would have really helped. But then, if they told me they love me, would have really helped. But then, since I did not get it, I've gotten God filling that hole. I know that I'm loved for doing nothing. I don't have to do anything to be loved. I'm just loved. Yeah. And I'm an object of his love. I think I just posted that because I was reading Deuteronomy and I saw God said to Israel that he chose them and made them the object of his love. Were they perfect? No way. They were never perfect throughout their journey, from when God picked them to even when God didn't leave them, till the end of their journey, till they entered the promised land. They were never perfect. But God said, you are still the object of my love. And because of the love, he protected them against any enemy. I'm like, this is how God loves us. And then coming to know that I'm loved like that, when I'm pouring out love, I know where it's coming from. And like you said, everybody should spot, where is your love? Like, are you trying to get validated? Yeah. Let me love you so that you validate me, you tell me you love me back. I don't even need that you love me back. I just need to know that if you are in a relationship, it has to be reciprocal. I'm not going to pour love into, like you say, pour water on stone and then the thing just dries up. So like, that's why I had to go back to that thing like you said. And I'm like, that's a good prayer to actually pray to God for, right? Yeah. So that as you heal, because the first point I made is that if you don't heal, you keep on repeating the pattern. But once you heal, you actually know, of course, sometimes you might go in not knowing that that's how the person is. But once you date someone and then you discover that this is a stone that I'm going to pour water on, this is a stone I'm going to pour water on, then you can leave that situation and then pray to God to actually lead you to where you know that, okay, you're really loving. And sometimes, just to put a balance to this, sometimes the person might be broken and need some healing. And if God,
we all do.
Yes, yeah. And if God has given you the ability to stay while they heal, though you're going to really receive a lot of pain, because while they are healing, they are striking on you with the trauma and everything.
And that's why it's important for that person to be aware that they are in that state.
So, and that's what I'm saying. If the person realizes that they are in that state, and then God has given you the ability to stay, because it's not by force, not like you must stay.
Both of you
if God gives you the ability to stay with that person and see them out of that, because even in marriage, if you're already married and then you discover that you guys are broken, that's the place to work. And it will be so beautiful that if you can work out those differences and those trauma your marriage will be very beautiful at the end of the day.
bond will
And
be stronger.
it will be so magnificent. Like you have a lot to teach other people, because one thing I've discovered about life is your experience is not wasted. No matter how bad that experience is, nothing you go through is wasted. And I've learned that from my life and from other stories that I've heard. When I discovered that Josmeya was raped and abused by her dad for good 9 years, from when she was 9 to 18, I was like, what I went through was just not as if I'm trying to demonize or make it small, but what I went through, this is not as big as what this woman went through. And then she left there and got married to a man that abused her, made her steal.
In her words, she said both of them were two broken people. And she was married to him for 5 years.
So I'm like, when I listened to her, I read her book some years ago. I think that was 2018 or so, The Battlefield of the Mind. And the first time I saw that story, I was like,
And that's another person that did not allow that brokenness take her life.
And it's the God factor.
See what she's doing with her life.
It's the God factor.
I saw another woman recently, not very recently, one time on the news. She ended up taking her life. She was abused by her father. She ended up killing herself.
The truth is,
she got into broken marriages and she last she committed.
The truth is that it's really deep, and like you said, if God doesn't help you, it's gonna end that way.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, it takes God. She wouldn't have recovered. She was smoking now. Even when she started teaching Bible study, she says it, that she was smoking and reading the Bible and teaching Bible study. So you can see that the brokenness led to so much. But religious Christians will judge.
The truth is, so long as you know that you need help, and you're continuously working on it, God will help you.
Definitely.
And that's why the Bible tells us in 2 Chronicles 16:9, says, the eyes of the Lord are roaming round the earth, looking for those whose hearts are turned towards Him, so that He can strengthen them. So once your heart is towards God for help, God is going to help you.
It's almost like that cry for help of like, God doesn't reject is it Psalms 37 that says that God sticks by the brokenhearted and those that are wounded. Those that are wounded, He doesn't leave them wounded in spirit. I think I'm not getting that psalm, but there's a psalm that talks about He doesn't forsake those that are broken-hearted and then wounded. So the reality is that, like for me, talking about the scripture that helped me was Matthew 5 verse 7. Is it 6 or 7 that says, "They that hunger and thirst after righteousness shall be filled." And that was my own scripture in my own struggle. I'm thirsty. I'm hungry for this. I'm hungry for good. I'm hungry for better. I'm hungry for justice for me, even for my life. I'm hungry for all of that. And then when I got to discover, I was trying to fill myself up. I discovered that He said, I shall be filled. So I had to allow Him fill me. And then God knows the best way to fill us, to fill our brokenness, to heal our broken hearts. Well, if we keep going, we are going to go and then not leave this place. So I hope you've enjoyed the conversation so far.
Yes, I did. I did.
So do you have any final word just for this episode to tell someone, okay, I know you already gave us the 4-point agenda.
I'll just say, don't let whatever it is you've been through define you.
Yeah. Amen.
Rather, it should make you stronger. It should make you better. You know how the Bible talks about refining silver? Yeah. That is, you come out of the fire. It has to go through fire. So certain things are there to shape us. So don't let the devil, use those things that were meant to make you better.
Preach.
Don't let it destroy you. So that's what I'll say. Don't let whatever it is you've been through destroy you. Let it be building blocks to get to where God will take you to.
Yeah, you speak like someone that has a preaching ministry.
As the Lord leads us, we will go.
That's so good. And thank you so much for actually
thank you for having
to come,
me.
Because the situations surrounding you coming was something I was skeptical about. Like, are you still gonna come? Because not feeling well and all of that. So, but thank God for strength, thank God for health and everything. Yeah. And I pray that as you leave this place, you are completely whole and healed.
Amen.
So thank you for actually sitting here with me and chopping it up on this conversation. Heal before you deal. Trauma and intimacy. It's not a small thing.
Yes, so don't suffer somebody's child. I beg.
I'm telling you.
I beg.
Thank you everyone for watching.
Thank you.
Thank you for actually listening. If you're listening on Spotify, and one thing I will ask of you, it's a favor. If you do me that favor, hit the subscribe button on this YouTube channel and follow on Spotify and give a like. And then don't forget to drop a comment. Let me know what parts of this has really said. And then, like you said, please share this conversation.
Share.
I believe one or two things from this is impactful and then beneficial for you. So let someone else be blessed also. And thank you. See you in the next episode. God bless.
Bye.
Bye.
Godly conversations. We're saturated with so many voices, inundated in the midst of the noises. We need the truth to saturate our hearts. Yeah. In the midst of the noises, we need a buffer, the voice of reasoning. You speak to the culture, shining the light of the kingdom. We're here to curate a message of hope through a conversation. Though the world may be lost, it's not lost on us. The divine God is with us. Yeah, God, Father, Son, and Spirit. The Spirit is my helper. Jesus Christ, my succor. Father is my anchor. Godly conversation brings transformation. You're welcome here.